Hi, Adya.
Hi.
Oh, thanks for this morning's talk. And the man who shared about his shoulder pain, because I have this incredible shoulder pain as well throughout this retreat. And it's been a focus of what my ego pulls me into. And things have just sort of come together in the past day, and particularly this morning about that. I've yesterday was able to view the pain from without, from
Yes.
around it.
Yes.
And then would kind of lose interest and, would sort of kind of disappear for a while. Mm-hmm. And then it would come back and so on, and became real clear that I'm not the pain.
Good.
But the pain would keep coming back, and which made me then wonder if there's some deep story why it keeps coming back, because there's really no earthly reason that I should have this kind of pain. And I recall that in the past, I had come to an understanding about my mother's pain. She had rheumatoid arthritis and died of it young and was totally crippled and a lot of pain when I was a kid. And, as a kid, I would want to change places with her. I'd pray. I didn't believe in God. I wasn't raised that way, but I'd pray.
To change places with her.
Yeah.
To help her.
Yeah.
To take some of her pain.
You got it.
Well, you succeeded.
Yes.
You did.
I did.
Yes.
I did.
You did succeed.
Yes. And
not that it was a good idea, but you did succeed.
No, and I don't think it relieved her of any of it. Interestingly, I don't think so. Yeah. But probably increased it, if anything. But anyway, she would be very brave about her pain and wouldn't talk about it, and was a very good woman. And in retrospect, when I look at her being, she seemed pretty awake. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that, but I can see that there was a lot of awakeness for being by herself, essentially, and not having any church going. She had no spiritual path. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that she wouldn't let go of, and she told me she had decided that she hated her father. She was angry with him. That's the way it was going to be. She was not going to forgive him, even though she knew it would be good for herself.
Yeah.
So, and I've known that for a while.
Well, she managed to pull that off, didn't she?
She sure did. So last night, I'm laying in bed, and I'm not putting this is together. I got it, put it together this morning, but out of nowhere comes this image of my grandfather. When I was a very young girl, did a very horrendous, shocking thing when he smashed these dead mice. These little baby mice.
Oh, yeah.
So this morning, I put it together. That was her father. Mm-hmm. And she really hated him and was angry. And so not only did I feel like I took on the pain, but I probably took on some of that other stuff too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean when I talk about that. This is an extreme example. It's a pretty obvious one, but this generational pain.
Yeah.
The father definitely got it from somewhere else too, and it just sort of, it's this energy field that travels right down right down generational lines, right through family systems, and gets transmitted from one to the other, to the other, to other, until at some point somebody gets conscious enough to start to question it and start to wake up from it. Right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like one of the things I'll have people do, not that often, because when I used to do it, then people liked it, so that everyone wanted me to do it. So I don't really do it anymore because it's not what I want to do. But you can do it on your own. And if you ever have like something where you feel that some sort of pain, it could be physical, emotional, psychological, and if all of a sudden an association comes up with somebody else in your past, I used to tell people to like stand in one place and realize that you're actually in the energy field of your mother, of her pain. That's the energy field you're living in. That's what's become familiar for you because you asked for it. People live in their energy fields of their parents that didn't even ask for it. But and then you literally take like 2 steps over and you just leave that person's energy field where it was. You step over and then you ask yourself, what's natural and inherent here in me? And very often you'll get this sort of very shocking change. And then you'll really realize that you literally were carrying this generational energy and identifying with it. And literally by just stepping aside, once you've identified it and felt it, then you step aside and say, what's inherent to this field here? And you'll feel this great recognition that you aren't defined by that energy. You were just carrying it. And sometimes we think we're doing a favor by carrying it, but we don't do pain any favors by carrying pain. Do you know? Because when we carry pain, we just eventually we give it. We just keep giving the gift. You know. Well, I'll carry it, and then I'll just give it to others, whether I want to or not, and so it happens. But this is the time comes when you start to wake up out of that dream state. And that's not like the big dream state of human consciousness, but it's a generational dream state, which many people are I would say the majority of people that I meet are actually stuck not only in the bigger egoic dream state, but they're very much caught in a generational dream state and the negative energy field of their family origin.
I'm going to go home and do that.
Yeah, you feel it. It's you can be quite amazed. Or get 2 different chairs and just sit down and go, okay, I lived with Mom for a long time. Intuitively, I know her energy field. Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to leave it here. Leave it in this chair. You get up, get in the other chair and go, well, let me see what it's like without carrying that. And you're like, wow. Then you'll know. Then you'll know. And then you can start to know that it's okay not to carry it.
Yeah.
That you become, the beauty of this is you become the liberator of that energy. That's the beauty of it. Not only for yourself, but for anybody else down the line that it might have gotten passed on to. You become the liberator of that energy simply by seeing that it's not who and what you are, and that energy wasn't who and what anybody was. It wasn't actually who and what your mother was. It was just associated with her because she carried it. It wasn't who her father was. He just carried it and he was unconscious. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So I know this is probably getting a little too out there for some people, but when you really wake up from your generational energy field, that transmission, whatever it is. And like I said, some families carry very dense, heavy transmissions of pain. Some carry much lighter, but whether it's dense or light, it's always a good idea to wake up from it anyway. When you really wake up from it, what you realize is you've liberated it there, so it's not going into the future. And I can't explain this, but you literally liberate it right all through the past.
I have a feeling of that this morning, that somehow this is going to do that.
It does.
I don't understand it, but
I know. You can't understand it, but that is the way it works. It's the reason why very often, I'll just give you a little example. This isn't as big, but it's the same sort of idea. My teacher Arvis told me this story when years ago when, and she's a very beautiful, articulate, well put together, manicured, just a very classy lady, you know. And her husband, he used to get up in the morning, he would set the table for breakfast, and his idea of setting the table was like dishing out the utensils like they were playing cards, you know, and sliding them. And this, you know, and to her sensibility, to her, you know, Zen aesthetic and classy sensibility, I mean, she would just sort of cringe, you know, oh God, you know, and she'd hear her husband Bill, and you know, Bill's just one of those guys, you know, and Bill's doing this, and and she noticed that, wow, there was some energetic contraction, some reactivity. She had known at that point, she knew enough, she had been conscious enough at that point that she knew better than to just jump in there and tell him how he should set the table. And so she said she just kind of sat with it and meditated over it for a while, and a couple weeks later, she just woke up and she saw Bill doing the same thing, clang, clang, clatter, 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 with all the utensils, throwing them on the table. And all of a sudden, there was nothing wrong at all with it. No reactivity. She just saw, that's Bill. That's Bill. That's why I married the guy. Because he's not like me, you know, because that's who he is. And she saw the beauty of who he is, who he was, right? She saw that. The next morning she got up, there was Bill. setting each thing that she never said anything, quietly in place from that point on. You see what I mean? So when we free ourselves from something, we have a much more impact on people than we don't do it so that we can have impact, because that would be manipulative, but we do have impact, right? Great impact. And in this sense, in a generational sense, when you sort of wake up from that generational transmission, you literally do a favor to everybody in that family lineage throughout time. It frees the energy field. It's freed up. Doesn't matter when it's freed up. If it's freed up now, it's freed up completely. That whole energy is gone. It's karmically been liberated. And it's really beautiful. And sometimes you can just see people right in your own, you know, family. All of a sudden they'll change. And you'll be like, what? What? How did they change? I didn't say anything. But nonetheless, you see, because you've contributed to that energy dissipating. It's very beautiful, actually.
I wonder if this is going to have an effect on my hospice nursing.
It'll have an effect on everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Just like that, carrying that transmission of pain has an effect on everything. Right? Because again, our state of consciousness affects everything we do, for better or worse, whether we want to or not. When our consciousness becomes more clear and more unconditioned and more in touch with the spiritual essence that we are, it affects everything without you even trying to or planning it or anything. It affects everything. And it has an effect on everybody around you. Spiritual teachers aren't the only ones that are transmitting, right? Everybody is transmitting. Everybody. For better and worse. You know, depending on what they're transmitting. Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.